Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hold on to your hats because, oh dear Lord God, we are back at Zandvoort, my home track from Formula Ford. I know this track inside and out. I'm even going to show you where even the Formula One boys are taking the wrong lines because none of the drivers on the grid here have ever actually raced in Zandvoort when they were in their younger ages. I'll show you the actual insides and outs here. Now, they're not taking it totally wrong, but there's one or two areas that they could actually improve. So believe me, you're in good hands here knowing the track conditions. And guys, this is a very special place to me. Exceptionally special. I won the Formula Ford Benelux Championships at this track. It was my home track. You know, in many ways, I'm in conflict. In many ways, I've got Spa-Francorchamps, which is the greatest track of all time. That's a romantic track to me, but Zandvoort's my home too. I can't neglect my home. I don't know where to go with this. I don't know where to go with this. But okay, like guys, we're going to look into some news as well. But you know, we're over the halfway mark. We've got two drivers now, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, going head to head for the title. It's down. It's a 2-horse race now. That's it. It's over. Of course, you never can tell. Something else could happen and crop up now with the drivers and unbelievable bad luck. But I just don't see that happening. I don't see it happening. You know, we've had McLaren, Senna, Prost. We've had so many great rivalries in the McLaren team over the years between the two teammates, and here we go again, baby. And it's gonna be awesome. Hold on to your hats.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move, he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front, what a move from fifth all the way to the lead in lap one.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh. Now, before we get into the track and everything, we've got some news here. We're gonna, first of all, the major headline, Cadillac, who are coming into the sport next year, the team, they've signed Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas. Now that is one hell of a lineup. Now, what I'm fearing here is I get it, right? They want to be back in Formula One. They want to. The two drivers, right? They're desperate to be back in. You know, you can't argue and can't blame them for wanting that bloody adrenaline again, you know? Certainly beats sitting at home. That's for goddamn sure, you know, and you're going to get paid. And so awesome for them. Problem is you're going to a team that is not experienced yet. You don't know. I mean, can we really see Cadillac coming out the gates, storming, dominating everybody next year? It's always possible. It's always possible. But probably not. You know, let's call a spade here. You know, and it's a surprise lineup, I gotta admit. Now, I think Sergio Perez will definitely bring some investment to the team. And I think that's how he got in there again, right? And I'm not taking anything away from Sergio Perez. You know, if you've heard my podcast over through the years, you know, Formula One, you have to sometimes pay your way into Formula One, you know? Sergio Perez will be bringing major investors, major sponsors, money to the table for Cadillac, which is a great thing for the team because then they can invest in this type of thing. They can invest in the right engineers, that they're dynamicists, you know, the right materials, the grounds, the works, the bolts, the nuts, everything, right? So they can invest in that and improve the car over the next couple of years. So definitely very good decision from Cadillac. Valtteri Bottas, is he bringing money to the table? I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. Maybe they just said, well, you know, Sergio Perez coming, that's more than enough. That's more than enough. And we'll give Valtteri the other seat. That happens too in Formula One. You know, you could have one guy doing all the donkey work, then the other driver is the favorite, and he just gets paid to be there and drive, right? And he doesn't have to bring sponsorship. It can be a cruel, vicious world, the racing world, guys, with the politics. Honestly, I'm telling you now, I've lived, breathed this stuff, and it can be effing ugly at times. But At the end of the day, it is a business. And you can genuinely understand it. But I think it's great news, lads, especially if you're into Cadillac if you're into Cadillac, the team itself or just the cars in general. I think it's going to be great for the American market for watching, that people will definitely get behind them. And of course, if you're Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas fans, awesome. So, well done, round of applause to Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez. And just before we get into other news, there is a rumor that Christian Horner could take the team over as the main guy, the team boss. Lads, if that happens, now I've been keeping an eye, as we've recorded this, I've been keeping an eye on the news, and just before I went live, I had a look to see if it's true or not. I don't see any news if it is true or not, so you'll have to excuse me if by the way, if it does become true, well then, this is a pre-recording, obviously I have to get the video ready. So that would be amazing news, lads, amazing. I'd love to see Christian Horner come back. He will struggle with the team, but Christian Horner knows how to get the right people in the right team, bring the right people together, and get the job done. That's what he was doing it with Adrian Newey at Red Bull. All he had to do was have the money there, the ability to pay the money for Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey was the ticket to the chocolate factory for Red Bull. Now look at them. Now look at them. So, guys, hopefully, fingers crossed, Christian Horner comes back. Okay, lads, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the track, Zandvoort, here we go. Some news. It's the end of August 2025. And, we're over halfway through the F1 season. The summer break is gone now. Silly season is in full swing, and which is great. And the championship fight is starting to sharpen its teeth. Lando, Norris, Oscar Piastri, McLaren way out in front. They've set the standard, the benchmark for this year and last year, at the end of the last year. You can feel they've set, okay, let's go back. McLaren have set the standard. They're the ones everyone's chasing, right? But you can feel this buzz around Ferrari. Could they still be a factor? I mean, it's like a bad smell, man. And, they're even saying it here. Could they throw a spanner into McLaren's clean run? I think they're way too far at this stage. Okay, I honestly do. You'd have to have some insane bad luck for McLaren now at this stage. The devil has appeared and he's going to take them down in insane fashion here. All right? So McLaren are saying that they do still fear Ferrari, though. I don't think I think they're thinking what I'm thinking here, they're not going to win the championship, but they can be contenders to put them under pressure anyway. And hey, why not? Because on paper, with the right upgrades, with Charles Leclerc on form, Hamilton's still trying to fight, but but in reality, the Ferrari story this year is it's not about domination, it's about survival, and it's about picking their battles. Because here's the truth, Ferrari, they're not liking the heat with the car, okay, the way the car is set up. What I mean is, when track temperatures are soaring, when there's loads of grip on the track, that car gets twitchy, unstable, and forgiving. Now, they don't do well when the asphalt is sticky. Now, this happens in motor racing, in karts, Formula 4, 2, 3, 1. It's the exact same principles the whole way up. It doesn't matter. It's the exact same principles. You can get cars that have too much grip, right? And then the track gets way too hot. It's kind of like flying too close to the sun. You get too sunburnt, right? And that's what's happening with Ferrari. And I think the rest of the season, it's going to be packed with hot races. Singapore, Jesus, that's going to be a sweltering heat wave. Qatar, Austin, Brazil, obviously Abu Dhabi. Jesus, they're not Ferrari circuits at the moment. Unless these new upgrades that they have, which they have had, okay, this could change everything for them. So they could prove me wrong, all right? But it's a long shot. Now, they do have a chance at Monza coming up, because you don't need a lot of grip at Monza. You just need good engine speed. And oh boy, Ferrari have plenty of engine speed. That is for sure. And Vegas, I think they'll be good at there as well, because Vegas it's a slippy track, and they're going to be driving at nighttime. And believe me, I know what Vegas is like. I've been there plenty of times. At that time of year, it gets cold in the desert, lads. So that's where I think they could be really good as well. And there's long straights in Vegas. So that's where I think they'll have plenty of grip. So at the moment, Ferrari car is a car that has too much grip. Okay? And then all of a sudden you go to a hot temperatured, grippy track. Now it's just over grip. Too much grip. Right? Then you just start to go slow. Flying too close to the sun. Right? And they need the temperatures to go way down, way crashing down. The cooler it is, the better it is for Ferrari. And that's exactly what they're looking for. But I just don't see it, man. Let's talk Leclerc. He's on form. He is. Now, he's off form because he just doesn't have the car. Make no mistake about it. It's not, oh, Charles is having a bad day. Every racing driver can have bad days, of course, but he's not having bad days, all right? The Ferrari is just not performing. And, people can get frustrated watching him. But, this year, it's not about Charles making mistakes. It's about the car not giving him the conditions he needs. Maybe that's a weird way to say it. Now Hungary, perfect example. Clouds overhead, dull track, dropping temperatures, and Ferrari looked more alive. Bang, right in it. Now, not fast enough to dominate, but alive. Crank the temperature up to 35, make the tarmac stick, and suddenly he's sawing at the wheel just to keep the rear in line, lads. Ferrari fans, they love to debate. Is it Charles? Is it Hamilton? Is it the strategy? Let's be blunt. It's the car. If you've heard me before, I'm not a Hamilton fan. So I'm even standing up for Hamilton here. And I love Ferrari. I love the team Ferrari. And I love Charles Leclerc. So I've got one guy who I would root for, Charles. Hamilton, I would not root for. And yet I'm still standing up for both of them here. But the thing is, the Ferrari gamble. The Ferrari gamble. I mean, what do you do? They've got upgrades in the pipeline. 0.5% gains here and there can get them somewhere. In F1, 0.5% is insanely massive. Insane. 0.5%. That's all they're looking for. You could argue with me on 1%. Fine. But to claw back that margin against McLaren at this stage, it's almost impossible, man. Hamilton, in many ways, he kind of defeated himself to a degree here for the rest of this season. I can't remember the last time I've heard any racing driver back in my day or Formula One these days where there's a lot more going on in the background than you think. He's saying that about his team. You might think that's not a big deal. That's a big deal, lads. That's a big deal. He's letting the cat out of the bag without saying anything. And he's right. Ferrari aren't just fighting McLaren and Red Bull here. They're fighting themselves, politics, ego, media pressure, and the whole circus. And, when you're distracted off the track, can you perform properly on the track? Maybe, maybe not. That's why the story versus Ferrari versus McLaren, it's Ferrari versus Ferrari when you look at Ferrari. Can they keep the team stable? Can they keep Leclerc sharp? And I think they will. Can they keep Hamilton motivated? I said already in a previous episode that I think Hamilton's got a 50-50 chance of staying alive for the rest of the season. Hamilton might retire early, quote, but Ferrari just pushed him out, and then he can save dignity and just, I decided to leave early, That could happen. Let's not sugarcoat this either. McLaren are in control. No two ways about it. They've got the car that works in every condition, lads. Slow speed, mid speed, high speed. And the best part of all, wrapped up with a nice cherry bow and a sprinkle on top, the car is insanely consistent. It can do lap after lap. Quick lap, quick lap, quick lap, quick lap. That's the key. That's the ticket to the chocolate factory for any competitive car. There's no point of being able to have a car that can pull out one quick lap and then it just melts. That you can't have that. It might get you out of a qualifying problem and put it on pole maybe, but you're done for the race. You're not going to survive. So they've got it, lads. And, they've got Norris and Piastri locked in this duel here and pushing, both consistent. This is how you win titles. And Ferrari, they're scraping for miracles here. They really are. They'll pray for the cool nights, pray for flat out straights, pray for just one weekend where the stars align, and that's the heartbreaking truth. Like the Ferrari dream, it's not about winning the title this year. It's about snatching moments, Giving the Tifosi something to cheer at Monza. That would be unreal. Maybe stealing the spotlight in Vegas. I could easily see that. Leclerc will probably get the love. Hamilton will take the punches. And behind the scenes, God only knows what's coming. What does the rest of 2025 look like now? You've got McLaren cruising, Ferrari scraping, Red Bull imploding, Mercedes sniffing-ish. Leclerc will get the attention. He'll be the man Ferrari hangs its hopes on. They will. And the more problems they have with Hamilton, the more they're going to automatically side with Leclerc. They'll sort of, whether they subconsciously think it or not, or consciously, they'll look at Leclerc and go, well, geez, we're not having problems with this guy. We're having problems with this guy Hamilton here. And the more Hamilton says, if he complains too much, even if he's right, it's like quicksand, man. The more he's going to bury himself, and then Leclerc is going to just look like the boy. But the championship, it's not theirs. It's going to McLaren, And it's still entertaining because, we've seen some showdowns here. And guys, let's get on to the track now. But I haven't spoken about Ferrari much this year in detail, but it was I think, definitely a really interesting headline when I see that McLaren aren't talking about Red Bull. They're not talking about any team. They're talking about Ferrari. If they were going to talk about any team, I would have thought they were going to talk about Red Bull and Mercedes, but they're eyeing up Ferrari. And in fact, to be honest, I thought they wouldn't even mention a different team because it's a 2-horse race now. They're both of their drivers. They own this title now. I thought they would have been focusing on, well, really now it's about Norris and Piastri. And at this stage it is. At this stage we are at that moment where it is about the two lads. I think we're for one hell of a showdown. Now, let's look at the track. Okay, lads, so let's talk about the track itself. Well, there are tracks in Formula 1 that they feel like they were designed on a computer. Perfect lines, perfect runoff, sterile, some unpredictable, some predictable. And then there's Zandvoort. Then there is Zandvoort. This place has a beating pulse. This place has a soul. It's got a heartbeat. It's got a mind of its own. Well, I know because this was my home track. I have home local knowledge. And one moment you're flying around in the sunshine, engine howling, track grippy under your tires, and the next, bang. The wind changes. The sand comes up sweeping across the asphalt because you're right next to the beach. And suddenly you're wondering, I'm going slower. Is this me? Is this the car? What's happening here? Or has the track just decided to betray me? And that's Zandvoort. It's not just a racetrack. It's like a living, breathing animal. And if you don't respect it, it chews you up, man, and spits you out in front of thousands of Dutch fans painted orange on the grandstands. And you'll just leave scratching your head wondering, what in God's name is going on here today? Honestly, it can confuse people tremendously. So the conflict at Zandvoort is simple, but it's brutal. The track changes faster than the drivers can adapt because you've got to wait for the track to adapt and change with that sand, man. And in the morning, you're laying down rubber, the sun's out, a lot of grip getting laid down, and then all of a sudden you get to 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and most tracks you start going quicker and quicker, right? Now, maybe for a lot of tracks, I would say the average, like even on a hot summer's day, 4 o'clock, half four, call it about half four, you can have tracks start to drop off. You can. But this place, at 2 o'clock, oh man. Did I say 2 o'clock there a minute ago? Sorry. Anyway, I meant 2 o'clock. So it goes in a lot quicker. It drops off a lot faster. And, at Zandvoort, the grip disappears. The sand starts to come. You're baking in the same spot, turning the same way. The car slides suddenly 2-3 tenths down. 2 to 3 tenths down, even more. You can go on Zandvoort track and you can be a second off the pace. That's extreme, but you could probably lose a half a tenth anyway. Sorry, half a second anyway. And believe me, lads, especially when you're driving, a half a second is a lifetime. That's enough to mess with your head until you start to get to know the beast, what you're dealing with. And then, you're not driving on asphalt anymore. There is that sort of you're driving on glass feeling. That's the conflict, because the drivers versus the track, and most of the time, the track wins. Again, it is. Why does it go slow? Because an insane amount of sand does get blown up onto the track, on all parts of the track. And the track, it's married to the beach, lads. The wind carries the sand across like a dirty sheet, it coats it, it steals the grip, and beneath the surface, it's so narrow and old school, like there is no margin forever. I mean, if you've watched the Formula 1 on track, you can see it's not a very wide track. It's not a very wide track for these guys. You run wide, you run into dirt. They have increased out the back now. They have increased the runoffs, right, with extra tarmac, extra gravel, which is good. That's good. But they are stuck. They're limited for space around Zandvoort too. And, then comes the corner. If you want to understand Zandvoort, you need to understand turn 3. This is the ticket to the chocolate factory to get it on pole. This is the make or break. If you want that extra little bit, turn 3 is where you do it. It's a left-hander, heavily banked. It was heavily banked in my day. It still is to this day. And, the obvious line looks like, in a normal left-hander, you stay to the right-hand side, you get to the 8, and then once you get to the braking in a straight line or carrying in, you bring the car into the apex, the middle of the bend, get into the inside of the track, and then let the car drift out, right? So in other words, you started a normal left-hander, starting on the right, turn in on the left. This track, this corner, you have to start in the inside of the bend. This defies all logic, ladies and gentlemen, of corners in general. Defies all logic. Because if you did this line in a normal track, you'd be going seriously slow. But it's because of the banking, you have to come through turn 2, the car drifts to the left, and that means you're in the inside line now for the next turn 3. And when you drift from coming out of turn 2, stay to the left, and you have to stay inside, hug the corner the whole way around, and then let the car drift out coming out of the corner. Now, unfortunately, I've been trying to find some footage on the internet. I haven't found it. But this is where, believe it or not, the F1 drivers are making mistakes. Any one of these guys could find, I would say, between 1/10 to 2/10 of a second in this corner alone. This is how important this corner is. 1 to 2/10. Now, unless something has happened in the last 10, 15 years since I've been there, and they've completely changed the corner, and it's just not possible to see on the TV, well then maybe so. But you have to remember here, number one, I don't think that is the way. Number 2, the F1 drivers, none of these guys have actually raced in Zandvoort when they were in the junior series, right? So, I mean, it's like, I was driving in Ireland, the UK, Belgium, Luxembourg, Holland, right? Then there was some guys my age, so instead of going to the same places I went, they went to Germany, German F3, British F3, American F2000, whatever it was, right? So everybody's going different routes, right, to try and get to Formula One. So even in my day, still to this day, there could be tracks where I've never heard, I've never been, but then Verstappen could have been there when he was in the junior series. It could have been his home track, and bang, the guy knows the track inside out. That's the local knowledge, right? And you do have the local drivers, club drivers they call them, okay? So, even there's a place called Mondello here in Ireland. That's a car racing track, right? Very small, very tight. It's not a bad old track. It's okay. The international track is quite good. But, you've got guys there that they're club drivers, right? That's all they do. They just race at Mondello or Kirkestown in Northern Ireland. That's another track, right? So they know the track so bloody well that some other guy comes along who's just visiting Zandvoort, Mondello. The guy is going to have a really good chance, the club driver, of kicking your ass, right? So in a way, I was the club driver of Zandvoort, but I was also the international, because we were also racing in Belgium, Luxembourg and Holland. It just happened that I was my local track, and I suppose I could have, really tagged myself as the club driver for that track too. So anyway, that's the point. That's the kind of the insight into racing as well, or the racing world, right? It really can happen like this. And, it's in turn 3, it's a slingshot, right? It's momentum. You're following the camber of the corner, the gradient, right? That's what you're doing. You're following it through, letting the car not accept, but flow with the banking. Very, very important in this turn 3. We'll get on to who do we think is going to kick ass this weekend. But that's the wonderful thing about Zandvoort. It can trick you, lads. It's not just a circuit. I've said it already. There's a pulse around this place, and it can bite you on the ass and make you doubt your existence if you all of a sudden are having a nightmare around here. It's a fight between man and nature in many ways, precision and chaos, and the only the sharpest guy can keep his cool and get through this. The only benefit for all the other drivers is that they've never raced there before, so they're all in the same boat. So that does help. Now, okay, predictions for this weekend. I've got to be saying McLaren. Some of you are going to be thinking Verstappen. Oh, no way, man. Local knowledge. You see, his home country, home advantage. No, it doesn't actually work like that in Formula One, guys, motor racing. It doesn't work like that. If you're watching rugby now, I don't know much about football, but I think they have that in football too. Home advantage can mean a lot. I could be wrong on that one. But definitely in rugby, I love rugby. Definitely in rugby, home advantage is huge, right? But it's not like this in Formula One. So my point is, Verstappen is seriously struggling here at the moment. Seriously struggling. Unless they've got some update, man. They've got something, an ace in the hole here. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe if he's lucky, he'll be 3rd or 4th in the grid and finish 3rd or 4th. In fact, if he even finishes 3rd in the race, I think that would be an achievement for Red Bull for this weekend. Because, not that I'm being patronizing here, absolutely not. Just being realistic. The car is seriously off the ball, man. And McLaren are so on it, it's frightening. I've got to say, in fact, this is what I'm loving about this year. I can't predict now. Is it going to be Norris? Piastri? I think they're going to favour Piastri. But no, I'll go Piastri. Piastri wins, Norris 2nd. Hey, let's throw it in for Verstappen. Verstappen in 3rd. It'd be great to see him have a podium. And the Dutch would love that too. They'll love, because they know he's struggling. They'll love the fact that he can at least pull out a podium. So, let's see what happens, lads. Enjoy, and we'll be back on Monday with the reaction of the Dutch Grand Prix. Ciao.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front. What a move from 5th all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh.